So that's when you get the big players and touch base, right? I think
It's okay, I missed an email. I think I'll just have Kay and get started. All right, well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Great Fire Community Meeting. So glad to see all of you again. I would like to start off with a word of prayer, and I see Chaplain Kay Peterson is standing, so come on up, Kay. Sure, love that. Thank you.
Oh, Jesus, we just thank you for today. We thank you for all this being accomplished here in Medical Lake. And Lord, we just ask for continued blessing and favor on this community, Lord. We thank you for who you are and what you do, Lord. Continue to just give us wisdom as we move ahead, Lord. Bless this meeting tonight and bless those in attendance. Amen.
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 Well, I'm Mayor Terry Cooper, and although this isn't a city meeting, this is a community meeting, and I want to welcome all of you. One of the things that we discovered, we had a retreat with our long-term recovery group. You'll hear from more about that in a minute, but one of the things we realized is now we're getting close to that 1-year anniversary. And there's a lot of triggers that happen getting close to the 1-year anniversary. Even people who are doing pretty well in getting their homes rebuilt or whatever's happening, or you're struggling, whatever the case may be. I guess I want to say be mindful and reach out and be sure that you're keeping your family and friends close, and that you're talking about those things, and that you're working through that, and that you don't feel alone, you don't feel isolated and overwhelmed. And so we're seeing the impacts of that in both Gray and the Oregon Road areas as people are coming up, and they'll have high days and low days. But once we get past that 1-year mark, typically all the models show that that is when the real resilience happens. And so just know that this summer is going to be working hard, working together, bringing in more resources, and keeping our community close. So you've done well. I just thank everybody for your work and your efforts and the progress that we've made. It's nice to see the walls going up and the workers coming and going. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. I can't see line. So first of all, I do have the Veterans Community Response here. I don't know if you'd like to give an update on the work that you've been doing in Elk, and maybe what will be coming to Medical Lake. Let them know our plans that are coming together. If you would share briefly, come on up. Here's the magic spot.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Homer Dollar. I am with Veterans Community Response, and we do disaster recovery work as well as field inspections with DNR, and we work with forestry and several other organizations, Team Rubicon. And yeah, so we've been, we're typically deployed nationally. We've had crews down in Texas, we've had crews out in Atlanta. We're a small organization, but we focus on soil work for hazard tree removal, immediate recovery work. And so we've been working both here in Medical Lake and as well up on the Oregon Fire site, which during this week we've been up there working on properties with Team Rubicon, and that work's going to continue. Again, we're small, so we have limited capacity, but we do try to reach out and get those in need and underinsured veterans. You know, we could try to get to them first, and then we eventually will hopefully open up and take on other work as well as our availability is opens. So it's a long process. We've been out in Malden for years going on. We keep going back out there to keep nipping away at it, and it's yeah, so it's, don't just get discouraged if it's been said that we couldn't get to it as of yet, because again, it's by need. So as that availability opens up, then we can work towards reviewing and see what else we can get to. But right now, primarily what we're looking at is anything that's going to be a hazard to any structures that are going to be rebuilt or in place. We do not do arborist work, but, we do have a working relationship with, a company that can do that for, they can work something out with you to help if we need for, like climbing, if it's up against the structure there, then something out of our scope, but yeah, so I think between us and Team Rubicon that we can get, a lot of the needs addressed and met.
Okay, thanks, Homer.
Thank you, Homer. So CJ Verbal is, she couldn't be here tonight, but she is with Team Rubicon. That's gonna be the point of contact. So if you have trees, you want assistance with trees, and they work really well together. One team takes care of the big ones, Rubicon takes care of the smaller ones, and between the two of them and getting some chipping done at the end and finding funding for that. So it's a real coordinated community effort. So thank you so much. We'll have, if you need help with tree removal, come and see me afterwards. And I'm going to get your contact information so we can give you one point of contact and minimize some of that back and forth that can happen. The next is Spokane County Conservation District on the replanting and the post-fire weed control. We have somebody here with conservation. Does not look like it. More to come on that. We do have DNR here. Maybe more for Mrs. Roebuck, if you'd like to come up and give us an update on what's happening with DNR. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, as you guys know, DNR last spring started our fire recovery program. At the time of the fire, we had one person in Olympia working under that program. So we have been scrambling, trying to figure out how we can assist the community as much as we can with low budget and very low staffing. So at this point, we are able to provide grass seed to landowners. This grass seed is for mainly out here weed control, trying to get some grass established before the weeds. The other one is sediment delivery. So if you have some runoff and things like that, that's a concern, we definitely want to get that addressed. The other big one this spring, I was told we were going to get 2,000 trees for the Gray Road fire. A week later, I was told I needed to find home for 4,000 or 40,000 trees. So scrambling, trying to get trees out on the ground. We were able to get all those for 40,000 out of the ground. Up north, they had additional trees. I'm not sure how many they got out on the ground out there, but we were able for large plants. We were able to use our inmate crews, the incarcerated crews, and they helped with the larger plants, which the potential for that is, again, we need to have a after action review and see how that all worked out. I know if we're looking at a couple hundred, it was really hard for them to manage that logistically, but if we're talking about a couple thousand out on the ground, I think we can use those inmate crews again next spring to help out landowners. Some of the other ones that we have is just property assessment. I'll come out, take a look at your tree, walk through your property, give you an idea what we think might survive, might not survive. The other one, I think I hit the rest of these. So the weed control, grass seed is the big one, and then the seedlings is the other one that you can hit me up on. I will have some forms. I'll put them, you want me to put them up here? Sure. That you guys can fill out, and then there's an email to send those up to our Northeast office. Eventually they'll flood down to me, and I will try to get out there and see you guys.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Amy.
All right.
So Avissa is here. I'm gonna invite Michelle to come up. She may operate from down here, I'm not sure. You may have heard that Avista has some planned power outages. There are a lot of conversation about what does that mean, and you know what, we're not gonna have any power on the hottest day of the year or whatever. But anyway, we want to hear it straight from Avista, what their plan is. Some of this work has gone on for a while. There's some new nuances related to fire response, so. Robin, did you want to come up and introduce, or you was,
I was just gonna follow behind Michelle.
okay, very good. Here, Michelle.
All right, my name is Michelle McCullum and I am the Regional Business Manager. I am brand new with Avista. I have been here for all of 3 weeks and in Washington for all of 5. Because of that, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to be not off book and needing to use my script so I can make sure you get all of the valuable information inside of this. I also brought with me my partners Robin and Matt Ugaldia. Matt is the knowledgeable one here. He's our wildfire program manager. He's going to be available to take questions. While we go through the presentation, a lot of your questions should be answered. So if you don't mind, there's a slide at the end where I'm going to ask you all to ask me all those good questions. So please hold on to them until the end if you may. The last time I was presenting in a high school auditorium, it was to 150 high school juniors. This room's a lot quieter. So first of all, I just want to start by thanking all of you for allowing us to be here to present our wildfire plan today. We're going to go over the 4 main parts of the plan, and then we're going to touch on a new part for this year that you might have heard a little bit about. You might not have heard it quite right. We are doing public safety power shutoffs this year. They are an option for us to do. I just want to be very clear in black and white about this right now. How many people in this room have heard that Avista is doing rolling brownouts or rolling blackouts in the last week or so? I see a few people. That's why we're here today. We are not. The traditional explanation of what a rolling blackout or a rolling brownout would be is when an electric company does not have enough power to give to all of its members at the same time, or their infrastructure will not allow them to deliver power to all of their members at the same time. That is not the situation that we're here to chat about today. What we are doing is we are doing a last ditch effort shutoff that is only in the event that we need to protect life and property. And that's what this presentation is going to be on. I just wanted to get that out there. If you hear anyone talking about rolling blackouts, rolling brownouts, that is not what's going on. All right, so here we go. So it's no secret to us that wildfires pose both a large and growing risk to us, especially those of us in the Pacific Northwest. I know that here that's very close to the heart, unfortunately. Avista is committed to keeping our people safe and their properties safe. We believe that this plan is a wise investment in emergency preparedness, and we're actually prepared to spend $437 million over 10 years on this plan. We're 3 years into the plan, so we have 7 more years to go. This is a very interesting map. It's an overview of our system. It's our entire electric distribution system. This map is from our Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI map, that includes USDA's Housing Unit Impact Data Set. This index represents the relative potential of wildfire to housing units, quantifying the potential impact of wildfire on human development. We also used inputs from the USDA's wildfire hazard potential data, as well as Avista's geospatial data and analysis to develop this map. The important colors are on here are that hot pink is a tier 3, which means it has the highest fire threat. And the green is a tier 0, which means it's minimal fire threat. We use this information to go into our 4-part plan. And when it comes to our 4-part plan, I'm going to see if the very intelligent gentleman would like to speak upon it, because he knows more than I do, and you don't want me to sit here and read notes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Ugaldia. I'm the program manager for Avista's Wildfire Resiliency Department. And as Michelle said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our plan, the 4 pillars or initiatives, however you want to look at them. I would like to clarify one thing about our WUI map, and this is no fault to Michelle. I helped develop this and it's very nuanced, but when we look at the 4 through 0 tier, or the 3 through 0 tier, the 4 tiers, those are ranked relative to our entire system. So I like to just point that out, that it really doesn't mean that there is no risk if you're in tier 0. I think that that's really misleading. We need to do a better job of communicating that. What that means is that compared to all other circuits in our distribution system, it is the lowest. It doesn't mean that there's none. So it's something that I really like to clarify. Onto the plan, we've got 4 key parts. The first part is our grid hardening program. This can be best looked at as us going out and addressing issues on our infrastructure, on our distribution system that are known causes for spark ignition events. As a matter of fact, all parts of our plan are designed to decrease spark events or utility caused wildfire. So when we get into grid hardening, historically, what that's looked at is the replacement of small diameter copper wire, undersized conductor wire, which has known failure points with any tree wire conflicts, really easy to break, pretty easy to knock down in high wind events and other mechanical and disturbance. So we're out there actively replacing those and also upgrading our wood cross arms to fiberglass cross arms, which is also another causal factor that is led to or contributes to the start of pole fires, which usually happen right after a light drizzle or with any other conductor failure. So those two, when we combine those and we replace them in this grid hardening, really makes our system more resilient and less prone to spark emitting events. This year, in addition to that, what we're doing, because the risk is growing so quickly and rapidly, we're looking at targeted underground. So we're actually out looking at converting overhead services, what we all traditionally see and know as the electric utility. We're putting that underground starting this year. We've done a test case. It's 11 miles, which out of a lot, 4,700 plus. We're starting with 11 miles, but you have to start somewhere. And the goal really is to understand what it's going to take to convert most of our system to an underground system and make it safer for communities and customers out there. So it's really a Herculean effort, and we're charging eyes wide open into it, but we've also got our shoulders down and intend to break through that wall. The second component is enhanced vegetation management. Again, another heavy lift of this is committed to inspecting 100% of its electric distribution system across all tiers, which again is north of 6,400 miles annually, looking for dead, diseased, and dying trees that could fall into our system. Again, trees and wires in hot and dry is a very bad thing. We know this, so we're hyper vigilant on it. It is no small lift, and just for frame of reference, when I started with Avista in 2018, we had 12 crews out and about doing our vegetation management for us. It was really reliability based and it was cycle based. So we would do 20% of the system of the year. Today, we have over 40 crews out doing this work and looking at it on an annual basis. It is a huge, massive lift, but we're committed to doing it. And I still maintain to this very day, if you had $1 to spend in wildfire mitigation, you would spend it on vegetation management or fuels reduction. It is a known win when trying to combat the effects of wildfire. So very close, near and dear to my heart, very big lift, but we're committed. We feel like we've got a pretty mature program out there to serve our customers and the communities. The situational awareness piece, kind of the third pillar of our plan. is our risk modeling and the way we can look at risk on our system. The map that was shown earlier is a product of that risk modeling. We also have a real-time dynamic risk model that takes into consideration all of the the weather patterns that are known to contribute to large and destructive wildfires. And we compare those with again, our spark emitting events or utility risk-based factors. And so that allows us to come up with a risk score. And I've got a slide next that shows what that looks like a little bit. But it allows us to target circuits that are high risk and take action on those circuits. So as Michelle said, it is not a blackout, it's not a brownout, it's a very targeted surgical approach to mitigating risk and keeping people safe. So new this year to that, we're partnering with a third-party AI camera vendor and also the Washington DNR to get in more AI detection cameras so we can help our state and federal and also local partners get quicker response time to events out on the landscape to fire starts. Finally, the emergency and operations response, and we kind of talked about, I kind of touched on that. That is the bucket that holds the tools that we use to take action on our system, whether that's to make the system so sensitive that if a tree branch lances on it, the circuit trips out, or it also gives us ways to, the targeted ways to go out and preemptively shut the power off before a transient weather event that we all know lead to large fire growth. So we've expanded those settings. We've really tipped the balance. In the past, we have tried to maintain a balance of reliability and safety. But as we all know, most of you in this room especially know, when the wind starts blowing, the fuels are dry, it's been hot, it's necessary to take precautions so that no sparks can hit the ground. It is the last thing Avista wants to do, is to be implicated in a large fire like this. We recognize it, and the landscape has changed such that we've taken pretty drastic measures in that sacrifice between risk and reliability to protect you and our company. And then additionally new this year is the public safety power shutoff, which we've kind of talked about, and I'm not going to belabor much more because I'm sure you have questions and we can get to those. This is our risk model. This is what it kind of looks like. I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but each one of those scores, you can see we have a 7-day forecast, a 7-day look out at what the risk to any individual circuit looks like. We also can sectionalize our circuits. So think about that as like a check valve and a hose. We can take action on anything downstream of these sectionalization devices most of the time. So we can really isolate risk and get really granular with it. And it also helps us to take very surgical measures to guard against the spark emitting events. So we can do a PSPS downstream of these sectionalization devices if the risk dictates, or we can make it so sensitive that the power will trip off downstream of these devices. Sometimes that's not always practical or we're not capable of it. And in those cases, we have to do it at the substation. So the entire circuit goes out. But as I mentioned earlier, we've got the grid hardening program. And one of the goals in that program is to add more sectionalization devices so we can be more targeted and try to bring that balance back to reliability and safety. But anyway, so you can see we get a 7-day look, and we can break the 7-day look down circuit by circuit or device by device, however we want to filter it. This one circuit by circuit, which is the feeder name, which is the third column over. And then you can see the risk scores and the inputs that we use. There's a lot of them. It's a fairly complex algorithm, but you can see the inputs that we use there on the clipboard on the left. And again, a lot of those are known contributors to fire propagation and fire growth, but we also add in the utility specific data to look at that and get a risk specific to us. So on top of this, in our emergency operations bucket, we've got the system, this is our protection system, and this is how it would cycle through based on risk. So in green, we're in the non-fire season. We really have that focus on reliability. Our system will try to repair itself, open, reclose a couple of times before the fuse blows. But as we move up, and the colors are meant to move up in fire danger rating, as we move up, that system becomes more sensitive and that balance shifts towards safety. And so think about it as we move up in the steps or up in the chart there, we become less and less reliable and power outages are more likely, and duration time is going to be longer during those periods, because not only have we increased the sensitivity of our system, we've applied it to our entire system. And so no circuit that we have in any of our system, except a very few, which are in areas which cannot burn, cannot experience a wildfire. I say that pretty confidently, but I'm talking about downtown metro areas that wildfire cannot propagate, it can't spread. Those have been excluded, but anything according to the wildland hazard potential data that we get from USDA that indicates has a risk of, I call it burnability. I'm not sure if that's a word, but that's how I say it. If it has burnability, it is subject to these settings. And so I think the key take home is we've more broadly applied it and we've made it more sensitive. So that's the long and short of it. With that, I'll let Michelle talk a little bit more about our PSPS plan and where we're going from here.
Thank you, Matt. Back to my script. All right, so the ultimate wildfire safety protection that we have right now is going to be the public safety power shutoffs, also known as PSPS, which I will be calling it from now on so I don't get tongue-tied too many times. By turning off the electric system prior to there actually being a wildfire event and extreme weather that's going to lead to a wildfire event, the potential for us to have utility infrastructure or a utility caused wildfire basically goes away. So that's why we're implementing this. We are prepared to use the PSPS for the first time in 2024. It is a tool of absolute last resort. We are only going to use this tool if we are in a weather situation where there is no relative humidity, like Matt said, where the winds are crazy. We really think something has a potential to happen, a really high potential to happen. So that goes back to that no rolling blackouts, no rolling brownouts. We're trying to protect health and safety and property. All of our feeders, as Matt said, are eligible. So just be aware that anything that's not, landlocked in a city that can't be affected by a wildfire may have an option of being affected. And what we've done is we went out to our peer utilities. A lot of different utilities have already implemented these types of shutoffs. We went out, we learned from them. We learned from their decision criteria about what worked and maybe what didn't work. Our customer support strategies are based on that. Again, we looked at, well, what worked for you? We are doing this to be a prudent measure to protect our people and to protect the property in our area. So we're committed to collaborating with our public safety partners, our municipalities, our tribes, key stakeholders. We want to make sure that we understand all concerns that come from this, which is why we're here today, and that we can address them and support you during a public safety power shutoff, if it happens. One thing I do want to point out, and I know Matt's chart is kind of a lot, if you're not familiar with listening to utility speak, and I know a lot of people in this room probably have some experience with it. But the extreme setting that we're talking about putting it in, if there's a lot of wildfire potential, but not quite enough to shut down the power, we're putting it in the extreme setting. What I like to compare that to is a lot of people have those GFCI outlets in their bathroom, where basically if the power flows wrong, it's going to shut off. We are going to be like that. The difference is our linemen have to go out and take a look at the line and get eyes on the line to make sure that there's nothing in the line after that happens before we can kick it back on. So I just want to touch back on what Matt was talking about. There are gonna be more power outages because everything's just gonna basically shut off in that scenario if something hits our line. And it's not gonna come immediately back on because we're gonna go down that whole line, make sure there's not a tree up against it, because we don't wanna kick it on and cause a spark that's gonna cause a wildfire. I hope that makes sense. So this year, I'm here. We're focusing our outreach efforts. We're going out to our different public safety partners. We're coming out to communities. We want to make sure that people understand exactly what we're doing by proactively shutting off power. We don't want anyone to feel targeted. We want them to feel safe. That's the point of doing this. We want to ensure that our elected officials know so they can answer questions because they're the ones who get the questions when things happen. And we want to identify and protect our medically vulnerable customers. One thing we're going to ask about that, tell your neighbors, if you know somebody who's on life support or is medically vulnerable, to contact Avista, make sure that they're registered. We can only work with the information we have, and a lot of times people don't think to do that. So if you know somebody who has some health issues, make sure that they notify us. Make sure that we can log it and do anything that we possibly can to protect them and pre-warn in the event that we have to have this type of incident or something else that might affect them. The other thing that comes down to is please update your phone numbers in our system. A lot of times people move and they don't do that. We're trying to call out to the wrong people and notify the wrong people about things like power outages. We are also continuing to identify our critical infrastructure. So we're looking at continuing this mapping, making sure that we have the most up-to-date information and the most accurate information. And then I want to talk about 4 specific community support strategies. We have done enhancements to our Avista outage map. So that's the one where you log in online, you can click on it and see if you have a power outage. Good point. We didn't. There we go. Our outage map will actually be updated, and we're going to try to update that we're in a PSPS watch for your area 3 to 7 days prior. It's going to really depend on how we can see the storms coming in, the relative humidity, so on and so forth. But we're going to make an effort to update that 3 to 7 days prior as soon as we know. We're going to put it into warning status 1 to 2 days prior, again, letting you know we think there might be a PSPS incident so you can get prepared. You can stock up on water and the things that you need. And then we will put it when it's in a PSPS outage. I say that because now I've come and talked to you today, and if the power goes out at your house tomorrow, you're going to think, oh, it's one of those power shutoffs. It might be something else. And I want to make sure you know where to go to get the right information. If you go to the map, it'll tell you if a car hit a pole and that's why your power's out, or if it is one of these types of outages. So that's at avista.com. I haven't worked here long enough. My Avista. There we go. Everyone in the room probably knows better than I do. All right, and then we also are doing proactive outreach to our medically vulnerable customers. This is a question that comes up pretty often. We are working with medical professionals to identify who might be in the community, making sure that they get the information we just talked about. But I would love it if everyone in this room would just make an effort with your outreach. You are all in the community. If there's somebody that you know, make sure that they know as well. We are standing up community resource centers. So community resource centers are going to be areas where people can come in and charge their phones to get some water, to get information. So if we call one of these PSPS incidents and we do have to take the power out, we're going to have somewhere for the members to go, customers to go. I came from an electric cooperative. And then we are going to actually be asking this lovely lady over here, wave. If you have an idea of where we might be able to set up a community resource in Medical Lake where people can come in, preferably something with backup generation, but if not, we can bring in our own backup generation. It's just faster if it's already there. We're really interested in finding a good space for that so that we can set up something for the community. And that's another reason that we're here today. Through all the communication, we just want to make sure that we're encouraging everyone to be prepared for the possibility of this, stock up on that extra water, batteries. And we welcome partnerships with organizations and agencies to extend our preparedness message. So we're asking everyone here today, if you can share this, it's going to make the community a little bit closer and make sure that everybody has the information that they need. With that, we're gonna step over to the question slide. So what we want to know is, what concerns do you have? What does your community need? How would you like to be notified, and who needs to be notified immediately? And any sort of partnership opportunities that we have. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna call Matt over here because he probably knows the answer to more questions than me and will want the microphone.
Yeah, and this slide deck was set up to prompt and steer a conversation. We can just do a question and answer too. I mean, it's good to take stuff back, but I see a question in the back.
Yes, I do have a question. So I'm a forest health specialist, and in our profession, I've learned that fire behavior is incredibly raw and can be modeled, but really can't be modeled because you don't always know what's gonna happen on the ground. And in that thought, if you were to use your system, and I have clients whose power gets turned off, something happens, Jethro down the street, sorry Jethro, your name's gonna get used poorly here, decides he's gonna mow his lawn and hits a spark, it lands. Landowner can't turn their well on, can't get their water on because the power went out. Things happen so fast. So what is your answer to that? What is your answer to a regular day situation that happens? Because it is what happens when the power, is off, or someone's outside doing something, or someone's welding. And then this happens, how are they supposed to get water supply to get the fire put out?
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. And
More or less like whose liability is that? Because if that happens, right, like worst comes to worst, that happens, they can't do something, generator won't start, people are terrified, it blows up. Are you guys liable then because you did turn the power off?
I don't know if I don't know if I
That's
wanna.
more scary in a way.
I don't know if I can speak to that, but what I can say, and I can put this in a different context. And I don't think I did a very good job when I described the thresholds that we're gonna take action. So I'll just put it into context a little bit, and maybe this will help. Is that when we start talking about preemptively shutting the power off, we're looking at situations that are sustained winds at 50 miles an hour with relative humidities in the low teens. And so when that happens, I'm not sure how good a garden hose is going to be to defend against a spark.
Yeah, I mean, it's all an extreme situation, right?
Right.
Half the landowners who are gonna ask these questions of if, when, how, why, what, you turn the powers off, that's what they're gonna resort to. I'm not necessarily speaking on what I would say would happen, I'm talking about people that we would represent that need that understanding.
Yeah, it's a good question, and we haven't had to do this very often. As a matter of fact, we've never had to do this. It's all brand new, so we're learning too.
I do have one more question if you don't mind, and it's related to the right of way that you guys actually are responsible for, center line to outside on both sides of the power line. My understanding when we were working in the Blue Mountains and Alliance in the Blue Mountains, it's a 15-foot off center line that you guys will manage the vegetation standing to. I think it would be helpful to either acknowledge if that's correct or not for this area. And then to also know what the right of way is that you guys will manage vegetation in, because what I've learned in my time working in forestry is that trees tend to be taller than what the right of way is. So if a landowner isn't managing the timber there, and it's literally right outside the right of way that you guys have managed, and that tree falls, it's actually the landowner's responsibility. And I think my clients would need to know that, everyone who works with anyone would need to know that, and I think that's something that was really helpful if you guys gave as information for education, and even just tonight, if you could detail me.
Yeah, so I would encourage you or your constituents to go onto our website and go onto our vegetation management webpage. There's a lot of really good information about our right of ways, our areas of responsibility. We look at it a little bit differently than just black and white, like we only own the first 15 feet.
Yeah.
Our enhanced vegetation management program, we look at strike distance. So that addresses the question that you had about height, versus,
Cause the guys that were out there were not actually able to cut anything that was outside of that, and this was in the last like 5 years. That's what, and I can't remember if it was in a Vista line or not, that I can't tell you in this moment, but I just wanted to make sure that there was actual verbiage somewhere, because again, speaking on behalf of landowners and myself, as a human being, if something's difficult, we tend not want to do it. We don't know how to do it, we don't want to do it, and then we have to find a contractor. So a lot of these people that have forested ground don't think about whether their tree is gonna hit the line or not, versus if you guys have a crew out and they say, oh yeah, that's a problem, but that's not in our managed zone. Like eventually, at some point, you guys have to have a cutoff, how far out you go. Is it 150 feet, that tree length, total tree height, or is it just 50 feet, 30 feet?
it would be strike distance, so it would be relative to slope and
Yeah.
position.
Okay,
Council,
well, I'll
and
check
then-
the website and more details.
Yeah, please
Thank
do.
you.
I have a question. You said if it was medically necessary, for health reasons to have the power on or whatever it was, you said to call a Vista, what number should we call or have people call?
So there's a couple of ways. The 1-800 number will get you there. There's,
What's the?
I don't know that we have it handy. Yeah, I don't have it memorized. If you go on to mayavista.com though, there is a landing
You
page.
have to be a Vista customer?
Yes.
Use my Vista?
No, it's a public facing page.
Okay.
And, but if you want to participate in our programs, that's gonna be one of the gates you have to go through.
Okay.
But I would encourage you to look and, see what's out there for your friends, family, neighbors
Yes.
that maybe, yeah.
That's what I was-
And I can't state how important that is to get this word out, to update us with your contact information and any of your specific needs. We will reach out, we will call you. We have teams of people that do this. The problem is, we don't know what your preferred method of communication is. And we don't know, sometimes when people move, they used to have a landline, they moved, they're still one of our customers, but like their landline is still associated.
If we get a mic body, they can direct us wherever they need to go in the system.
Yeah, yeah, and again, the website, it has all we made it as easy as possible, but. We like to say it early, we like to say it often, and we like to say it loudly, update your contact information, we will call.
Got it.
If we're gonna do anything that we've talked about tonight, we will call.
Good question. So, when you talked about we get, the 5-day notice, a 3-day notice, and I think all of that is really important, kind of to your question in the back. You're already gonna have 3 to 7 days notice that it's coming, so those people should be prepared to have water, and everyone calls 911 if there's a fire, right? But, we still, the question is, will we still get the same notices, which we do now? Oh, looks like your power's out in your block, and then power's restored. Oftentimes it happens. I was never even home, but it's nice to know that it went off, came back, and I can check my freezer when I get home. But will that continue those? So we won't have to wonder if the power goes out, if it was somebody hit the pole, or is this the rolling? Because one, we should have pre-notice for the things that are planned. And get those instant notices kind of after events, though those will continue, correct? In
Correct.
that same way. Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
If you sign up and you tell us that your preferred method of communication is text, you'll receive a notice anytime there's any incident on the feeder that you're on.
Yeah.
I say feeder, it's circuit, but slang. But yeah, that's, my wife is the account's in her name. She signed up and we know exactly like when they take us out for an hour because they're doing an upgrade. I say they, I mean me, she, and it got really complicated, but yes. Sign up for our text alerts. You will know, and if there's anything that happens, if we're gonna sacrifice your reliability, we're gonna let you know about it. And we're gonna let you know as soon as we know about it, you're gonna know about it.
And for entire municipalities, I guess. Do the municipalities sign up in the same way, or will we have a special,
You have a special relationship,
communication
yeah.
so that we can send out text messages, or however we do emergency notice to our constituents? So the whole city's gonna be we want to know before, so absolutely.
So Verizon are in this rural community, so when the fire hit, Vista shut the power off, right? So none of us could, turn on our sprinklers to the wrong wells. Can a Vista come out with a program? I know you have a program for cars, if you buy an electric car, they'll come out and they'll set up a box, or you'll get some sort of incentive. Can you do that for properly installed houses for people who have generators, so you don't backfeed the line, but yet have an incentive to where people, if the power does go out, if you are, say you're on life support or something, then like, so there's some sort of incentive for people that are gonna be in these areas where the power is gonna be constantly shutting off every summer. I mean, if you live, say, up in Oregon Road, can you guys make some sort of funding from the government or some sort of grant to where people who are rebuilding their house can have not just your uncle who's an electrician come in and wire a feeder. But I mean, like, can you guys come up with a program like that to where us who are on wells, and that maybe if the tower was still on, our houses wouldn't burn down? I mean, it's a way that I look in the future of somebody else's problem coming down, that if they had their power on and they had, or a way to turn on their water or their well pump. I mean, it's something that, like, I'm thinking of. I don't know if anybody that.
We thought of that, and there's two things I want to say. The first thing is, we studied these kind of things for about 4 years now, especially the PSPS. And until fires like Lahaina and Gray Road and Oregon Road happened, we said PSPS isn't a fit for us. Our risk isn't there. Well, we were wrong. It's an existential risk, wildfire. So we're taking massive steps to prepare for these. We think it's unlikely, but we're taking the steps. But the problem is we only had 8 months to finalize this PSPS plan. We've done a massive amount of work. We've thought about everything we can think about. Backup generation, incentive programs to help people with generators. Maybe not to install them, but to incentivize. That is something that we're considering now. It did not meet our definition of minimal viable product, which is what we have. We have backup battery program for our medically vulnerable, where we'll have a lithium ion battery available. If you're a customer and you're medically vulnerable and you sign up with us, we will have that this year. Moving forward, we hope to mature that program into generator, backup generation and incentives like that. But it was, we had to look at things in kind of a prioritization of what's most important. Is it keeping people's food stores safe? Or is it keeping people alive that need durable medical devices? And so.
It also keeps your workers safe, because somebody hears about black out rollouts, they're gonna call their uncle to come up on it. If they're gonna shut the power off, I want the power to stay on.
Yep.
If they're gonna hook it up wrong, it's gonna backfeed. And somebody's climbing the pole and hit the neutral wire and it's gonna be an election.
Yep. Our website also has generator safety. Please look at that. Backup generation terrifies me, especially in the scenario. Yeah. Yep, I agree, and we're looking into it. Robin and my other team member, that's their sole focus, is to try to mature these things. But I did want to address one other thing that you said. In the Gray Road fire, we didn't preemptively shut the power off. Well, it was one of two things. I believe it was on one feeder, poles burnt down and it fell to the ground and faulted out. And on another one, we had them, because of our modeling, we saw that the weather was going to be the way it was. And so we put it into our extreme protection mode. And we had something clip it, and we don't know if it was a branch or if it was, I mean, it's so sensitive that if smoke tracks to it. I believe it was smoke that tracked to it and it turned it off. So I just wanted to clarify, not a gotcha moment at all, but I did want to say that.
I was one of the time. We were panicking trying to get the water turned on.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't turn it off. Yeah.
When the power turns off, you have an estimate time or a time limit that you're saying we're gonna be turning off for? You're saying that the guys have to go and look at, check the whole line. Yeah, have you, ma'am, have you had power to do that? Or I know everywhere else, building is down and is in, that power is low. Is that gonna affect the time limit that we won't have?
I mean, I can't say that it's going to be like that. We're gonna get it back on. And there's a really good reason for that. For the patrol, what we have to do to go out and make sure that we inspect it so that two things, that we're not closing the circuit back into a fault that could lead to a fire that we're trying to prevent. That's as bad as the fire station burning down, right? The other thing is we want to make sure that there's not a wire down and somebody's out trying to move something off of it so we have to inspect every inch of it. It's a very hazardous situation. The 13,500 volts that run through those, it's a bad deal. So what we have done, to decrease that stress and that burden is we have done a lot of geospatial analysis. We have looked at historic patrol times, and we've devised strategies to decrease the amount of time it takes to patrol it. Okay, and patrolling it is one thing, and we can do that with a couple of different augmentations of staffing and crews, but we also have a pretty robust drone program, so we're going to employ that. We've got time set for how long it will take to patrol each feeder. And I can say that the goal is to patrol every inch of an out. We think we can do it all in 24 hours to patrol it. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's a storm. And so if the winds are blowing at the speeds that necessitate or justify us turning the power off, I bet you there's trees in the line and we've got crash sites. So then we can't tell you how long, because we can't model that. We can't look at that and say, oh, well, we think that it's gonna be, if X feeder goes out, then why it's gonna take Y time to get it all back up and running. Because there's some unknowns. We could have lost 50 poles because of a fire that impinged on our facilities, burnt down 50 poles. Well, that we can't, we would find that in the patrol in 24 hours, but it's gonna take time to physically get the material and construct the material and put it back up. So I can talk about specifics with patrol times and how we're doing everything we can to decrease that burden from that standpoint, but it's still a storm. It's like a winter storm in August. And so, yeah, know that we're doing everything we can to get it on quick.
One last, just a question. So as a real life example, was the PNPS system in place in 2023, then when we had the fire? Because the way you described it would have been that it was because it shut off on a trigger, not on you guys shutting it off.
It would not have been in PSPS in 2023.
So with the conditions of that fire, put it into that, what
No.
are the so was that not severe enough of a condition? Like, I'm trying to gauge in real time what that is, because not all of those things happen at one time. They're just different things, like multiple times.
So without getting super technical,
Yeah.
it would have approached there. We were approaching there. Okay, but it's more complex than that because we look at risk as probability times impact. So it's relative to the system, and so each place has different triggers. But this one would have fallen into a spot where we recognize the risk. And so we put them all into the most protective setting. We believe, especially based on the one that went out and no fire resulted from it, we believe that our extreme protection settings are gonna do 99% of the work. We believe that. If we're talking about a PSPS and all of the backcasting and all of the modeling that I've done on this, we have only had one scenario that we would have initiated a PSPS, and that would have been Labor Day of 2020. We had one circuit that absolutely would have been elevated to a PSPS. Or we would have, let me rephrase that. We would have started the conversation about initiating, because PSPS, while we have a threshold for our triggers, our extreme protection settings, that's prescriptive. For PSPS, we recognize that there are other factors to consider. You know, it's not as prescriptive, so it will be a conversation that starts at a forecast and at a forecasted risk model. It's not gonna be analog where it's on or off.
Is that fire time frame you're talking about? That would have been,
Yep,
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
yep.
I'm new to the area in the last 5 years or so. I have to ask, is ice storms, winter weather a factor for power outages?
Absolutely, absolutely, they are. And what we're talking about right now only applies to Eastern Washington's kind of historic fire season. And we define it in similar ways as everybody else, maybe a little more technical than the Smokey the Bear sign at the fire station. But we do, you know, we look at it we're pretty aligned with a lot of the agencies in when we actually know fire season is. With the ice storm, yeah, you can expect if we get ice storm like, what was it, 06? 96. See. 96, we had an ice storm that impacted a massive amount of our customer base, massive. We haven't had one quite that bad for that deep winter freeze since then. But that's one. We've also had several windstorms that has taken out our transmission system, which is it's a whole different animal. When you lose transmission, you lose entire substations, which means you lose entire towns. Those are typical in the winter. And while we have some protection setting and some mitigation for that, it's not quite as robust because we look at those things as act of God, you know, kind of force majeure stuff. We don't look at it as being able to model it, or it doesn't have the same kind of liability risk that we're trying to manage with this.
So with the mitigation, if you're doing summertime, the tree 100% inspection and all, is it likely that our outages might, with the resources and the extra crews that are on, that our outage system could manage fairly effectively in relation to maybe what's been.
That's a great point. And actually, I think it was Monday, I was having this discussion that, our vegetation management program is a massive lift and a massive spend, and it really is focused on wildfire mitigation. We are seeing ancillary benefits in a couple of they're utility specific metrics, but it's about amount of outages caused by trees and duration. And because of the money that we're spending and investing now in this, we're seeing those ancillary benefits in day-to-day operations, including winter. So that's a long way to say yes. But yeah, great question. That just came up the other day, and I'm like I said, if I have $1 to spend on wildfire mitigation as a utility, I'd spend it on vegetation management. So when I saw those metrics and had somebody come into my office, I'm like, yes, I knew it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. And go to that Avista page, and with the vegetation page, it gets your number signed up. And, you know, we're so grateful for all the work Avista did. Incredible. They went above and beyond. And there's new folks here too, but Avista did an unprecedented effort in getting those trees down that were in strike distance, and also in cleaning up afterwards. They've never done that before. They have no obligation to do that. It costs them millions of dollars to do that. And we're grateful. We're grateful. We have great partners with the Vista, and they've always been proactive at trying to do the right thing. So we appreciate you for that. Sunny has an announcement. Spokane Clean Air is not here tonight. They sent a statement, and then he'll give any city updates related to what we have. And then we have a few more folks. You might want to stick around because we have more information to share.
All right, good evening. All on behalf of Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency, they wanted to share this message. Time for getting your asbestos survey is running out. Asbestos surveys must be completed soon. After June 30th, disaster assistance funds for reimbursement and surveys performed by Spokane County contractors will no longer be available. Considering the disaster declaration, Spokane Regional Clean Air has allowed an extended time frame for completing the surveys, but the potential health and safety concerns associated with unidentified asbestos in the debris cannot go unaddressed indefinitely. Please be considerate of your neighbors and community members and utilize the funding availability that's limited, but while it's available, in June, they say that they will begin issuing notices to property owners with a deadline to complete the asbestos survey, and not meeting the deadline may result in monetary civil penalties. So there's resources available. To summarize, there's resources available. Please reach out to disaster case managers and plug into those resources to get those asbestos surveys done. And then as far as the city update, I just wanted to share that May is Wildfire Awareness Month. And we're pretty aware of what wildfires can do, but what I just want to encourage you to do is give it an internet search, Wildfire Awareness Month. There's a host of resources out there that will help you in reducing the hazards and like FireWise and DNR and defensible space. And I know that you're doing a lot of great work right now, but we don't want to face the same risk, right? And it's just our heart. And there's a lot of really great resources out there. So Wildfire Awareness Month is May. Give it a Google search. Check out the resources out there. If you learn something, implement it. There's some really great tips to help us from facing this risk again. So.
Sir.
Thank you, Sunny. One thing I'll say, when you're talking about getting the asbestos testing, if you don't have that done yet, and it talks about this survey. So all of those are being paid for through reimbursement. Be sure it says asbestos testing, because you'll call and say, I need to have my property surveyed for debris. And some of those invoices came in and they just said survey, and then the county didn't pay for it. So anyway, be sure that it says asbestos on there, and then it'll save you a little bit of trouble there. I'll have Jerry Johnson, Reimagine Medical Aid. She's going to come and give you an update on what's happening there. And thank you to Reimagine for all the support. We're going into the 9th month. Yes, they've been faithful in the community. So we appreciate Reimagine.
Good evening. I was just going over numbers. We had a board meeting yesterday, and so I thought I would update all of you. So as of December 31st, 2023, we have 153 applications on file for those impacted by the Gray Road fire. We have distributed $61,430 directly to the victims with in-kind donations. We have distributed $62,526 in grants, items purchased, and gift cards. And then from January through May, we have distributed so far this year $23,160 in gift cards, and then $10,000 gifts in kind. 230 boxes in April in 4 routes, and 183 boxes in May, and that value is $23,160. We will continue to support the community with gas and grocery cards through December. And the Reimagine Medical Lake Board voted yesterday to approve a second grant for all approved applicants. And we just want to encourage all of those impacted by the Gray Road fire to work with our trusted partners at the Salvation Army, and that we would like you to work with your case managers and just to continue working your recovery plan. And we enjoy when everybody comes in and just listening to all of the progress that everybody's making. And, 9 months, I was thinking about it just the last couple of days, just walking in here tonight, what it was like last September. And we've come a long way.
Yeah.
So congratulations, we are making it.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, thank you, we imagine for sure. And we're just so appreciative. Spokane Region Long-Term Recovery Group. So, the president of that, set that up. We have, community, committees, in each one of the communities, and it's a regional approach. We have recently, hired an executive director, that's Jen Thomas, and I'm gonna have her come and give you any updates that might be relevant, for right now, or unless you don't have anything to update, I'll tell you a little bit. Where we're at right now is, getting the second year of funding for the case management. We're working on that. We're working at getting reallocation of funding that's come through the state. The bureaucracy entanglements have been a little difficult. And so trying to get that money reallocated into categories that people actually can use. So we're having those conversations. That funding ends that we receive from the state June 30th. So we're having daily conversations on how the state and the county might allow us to reallocate that money. But right now it's paid for asbestos testing, it's paid for some debris removal, and there's been support mostly for uninsured and underinsured people. So more to come on that. We have, I don't know if we have anyone here from the Washington State Emergency Management. I don't think I saw anybody here, or Office of the Insurance Commissioner, Federal Emergency Management, and Small Business Administration. I don't know if we have any folks online. If you put something in the chat, we can relay. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do want to say with the tree removal, I see your hand, will be right to you. With the tree removal, be sure you come up afterwards so I can get your information and get you that one point of contact. That'll be something that probably rolls out in June. You have a question?
So the first thing with the tree removal this fall, we had cut down trees. We're on the west side of it, so now we just have trees down, and it's so are we responsible for cleaning that up, or is there a place we can take the wood someplace? I mean, it's for us to, 35 trees down on one block.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. The question is, what do we do with if we still have many trees down that were felled during the fire? And so we had tens of thousands of trees. That first effort was that first round to get the trees off of building sites and off of strike zones of the water, driveways, roadways, build sites, and power lines. And so that was the priority. Trees, that haven't been, there was no assistance beyond that. And then we can only go so far. We hit, bad weather. So that's where we're picking up now. So come and see me and I'll get your information. That's what these teams do. They come in and they'll systematically, assist you as they can. They're both small teams, but they're small but mighty. They can move mountains. And so all of it was done with volunteers. And so we want to help everybody that can. But to answer your question, yes, it's your responsibility. Avista did come in and clean up kind of what they put down with. Sure. Yeah, we've been, I hear you. So that was what happened the first time around. So we ended up with a pile of debris, probably the size of a football field when it was all said and done. It was 15 feet tall. We did bring in chippers and and work through that. So we'll work toward that effort again. We do have 2 sites, where we can, property owners have told us we could bring limbs to, but we'll be coordinating that through the Veteran Services and Rubicon, as they move through those properties. And then if it gets to the place we need to rally up a volunteer army again to kind of drag limbs or haul limbs to a spot. So that will be happening over the summer. So yes, be sure I get your information and we'll get you on the list, and so we know what your needs are and coordinate that with you. And again, it'll take all of us again, like it did last time, get your trucks, your trailers, you know, and, let's help each other out there.
I shared some little detail towards that since I helped with the slide there.
Could you say that again?
I'm Megan Doneen. I was with the tree committee group. I just wanted to touch base on that a little for just a brief second, if you don't mind. What we tried to do was working with Sawyer's was get as much down as we could ahead of our shipping operation that we kind of worked together with Vista on. So when we hit poor weather, if we didn't have everything off the ground, we would like to make sure people realize that we understand. We apologize for what could have been a headache, what is a headache. However, there was only so much equipment that could be donated to the entire Medical Lake area to have all of this stuff moved out of the way. And we thought that priority should be put towards getting things off the ground that would cause people harm or danger with building and people getting in and out of places. So I just wanted to make sure you maybe got to hear about the backside of where that came from, so.
Yeah, because we'll chat afterwards. You know, there was so much more to it than that, but everybody worked so hard and we had teams and teams of people, and yep, we'll rally the troops again and see what we can do. So we appreciate you. Yes, sir.
This area west of the park out here, where the lumber company came in and cut all those trees down. Is that all government or is that Medical Lake area?
So it was a combination. It depends on where it happened, and I can talk with you afterwards, but we had lots within the city that were owned by either the school district or the city of Medical Lake. We took care of that. There was large pieces of land outside of the city of Medical Lake that was owned by the state of Washington. The government took care of that. And then when you look at a Vista, what they cut down and took, then that was, you know, in their purview. And then beyond that, we got that volunteers, people allowed folks to come in and volunteer, and we had contracts with some loggers that did some salvage logging. If they were larger than 2 acres, then you worked with that salvage logger independently and contracted with them. And then the rest was all just volunteers, local businesses and heavy equipment operators. And, you know, we had money from the state that we could use for some of the chipping. Spokane Clean Air paid for, I think, about $25,000 worth of those chippers. Those chippers cost $10,000 a day to run those. And so it was a little bit of everything. But if you have a question about a specific piece of property, I'll chat with you after and we can answer.
Question about specific piece of property, it's just the way they left it.
Yeah.
I don't have to look at that war zone.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life going out of Medical Lake, and you know, it looks like bombers came in and just
Yeah.
moving all the hell and gone and left it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what it looks like. You go up to Elk, that's what it looks like. You go down toward the camp, those places that are private property, or even state land, if they don't feel a real need, you know, there's nothing urgent, it's gonna stay there. And it's, sadly, there's no duty, to clean that up that I know of.
The state's still working on cleaning that up. They're just.
So, the city administrator, Sonny, was just saying that there's continued work that the state is doing, as they work through, you know, cleaning up their land. But if you look out here towards, you know, Lakeland Village, you can see it's just dirt. And so hopefully they'll continue to do that. If you're talking eastward of Silver Lake along the Medical Lake 4 Lakes Road, in that area, that's also state land. So hopefully they'll continue to work, but I couldn't speak to that specifically. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? You know, you can always reach out to the city if we can help answer any questions beyond that, or these folks that were here today. We're here for you, and we'll still keep having these meetings. As long as you want to, come, we'll be here to help. The next meeting is gonna be June 17th,
No, it's the 26th.
26th, maybe. We're looking. Wednesday.
June 26th.
Wednesday, June 26th at 6:30. So come and see the folks that you need to talk to afterwards, and we'll get you the information you need. So have a good night, folks.
Thank you.